William lay awake in bed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on his bedroom ceiling as a car's headlights swept across the room. It was late, past midnight, and the house was dark and quiet. At 8 years old, William was the youngest of 3 brothers. His oldest brother John was 13 and could be moody and aloof at times. The middle brother Sam, 11, was easygoing and William's main playmate, even if Sam sometimes picked on him as older brothers do. William listened closely and thought he heard the front door opening. He couldn't be sure over the low hum of the box fan in his window, but something didn't feel right. Mom and Dad had gone to bed hours ago, and he didn't think John or Sam would be up in the middle of the night. Curiosity got the better of him. William slid out of bed as quietly as he could, careful not to let the old wood floors creak under his feet. He tiptoed to his bedroom door, opened it a crack and peeked out. The upstairs hallway was dark except for a sliver of dim light coming from the partially open door of the bathroom at the other end. William heard another sound, the distinct squish of a footstep in something wet. His heartbeat quickened. The house was in the middle of being refloored, and he remembered the contractors had poured fresh cement in the hallway outside the bathroom before leaving for the day. No one was supposed to walk on it until it dried. As William watched, frozen, a shadowy figure emerged from the bathroom. It was too dark to make out any features, but he could tell from the height that it wasn't his dad. The figure took a few careful steps into the hallway, trying to avoid the cement, but then made a small leap to clear the last section. With a muffled thud, the figure landed right in the middle of the wet cement. William stifled a gasp. The figure quickly stepped out, leaving a clear footprint behind, and rubbed his cement-covered shoe on what looked like a towel before tossing the towel out the open window at the end of the hall. Then, moving swiftly, the intruder slipped past William's doorway and down the stairs without a sound. William stood motionless, mind racing. Should he call out? Wake up his parents? He wasn't even completely sure what he had just witnessed. After a minute, he mustered his courage, flicked on the hallway light, and went to inspect the scene. The cement was marred by a single, unmistakable shoe print. The tread pattern looked familiar, but William couldn't quite place it. He gazed out the open window but saw no other signs of the mysterious trespasser. The night was still and quiet, as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. William closed and locked the window. Despite his pounding heart, exhaustion from the late hour was overtaking William. He decided whatever had happened could wait until morning to deal with. He took a final glance at the shoe print, turned out the light, and went back to bed. William woke the next morning to sunlight streaming in and his mother's voice. "Will, honey, time to get up." He blinked and sat up groggily, the memory of the previous night rushing back to him all at once. Was it real or just a crazy dream? I'm up," he called, stalling for time to collect his thoughts. His mom appeared in the doorway, her expression unusually serious. "Hey, sweetie, I have a question for you." "Okay." William braced himself. "There's a footprint in the wet cement by the bathroom. You didn't happen to get up and walk through it last night, did you?" "What?" "No. Before you answer, I want you to know that you won't be in trouble, as long as you tell me the truth." His mother's gaze felt like it was boring into his skull. William's mind raced. Should he tell her what he saw? But what if she didn't believe him? What if he had just imagined the whole thing? "No, Mom, I swear I didn't do it," he said finally, deciding to stick to a simple denial. She studied him for a long moment, then sighed. "All right, thank you for being honest with me. I'm going to talk to your brothers and get to the bottom of this. Come down for breakfast when you're dressed. Okay?" William nodded mutely, and as soon as his mom left, he leaped out of bed and ran on his tiptoes to the hallway. The footprint was there, just as he remembered it, pressed deep into the cement. So it hadn't been a dream. He heard his mom's voice coming from John's room, interrogating him about the footprint. John's outraged denials echoed down the hall. "I didn't do it. Why would I be up in the middle of the night anyway?" William quietly backed away and went to get dressed. His mind was spinning. Who had made that footprint if not him or John? Could it have been Sam? Some stranger who broke in? And how was he going to explain what he saw without getting blamed himself? Downstairs, over waffles, William's dad announced that he and Mom were going to investigate further. We're going to compare the print to everyone's shoes and figure out once and for all who the culprit is. William nibbled his waffles without tasting them, his stomach doing cartwheels. Sam, sitting next to him, seemed unperturbed, shoveling in forkfuls of syrup-drenched waffle. John was sulking, clearly still fuming about being falsely accused. When everyone was done eating, William offered to wash the dishes, hoping to stay out of the way while his parents did their shoe comparison. He went to the kitchen sink and started filling it with soapy water. Suddenly, from the direction of the hallway, he heard his mother shout, "It was John! His shoe matches the print exactly." William's heart stopped. That couldn't be right. He had seen the shadowy figure and it definitely wasn't his teenage brother. Then a sickening realization crept up on him as he stared at the sudsy water. The shoe tread had looked familiar because he recognized it from his own closet. The mysterious intruder had been wearing William's shoes. A commotion erupted from the living room as his parents confronted John. Over his brother's vehement protests, William heard his mom say, "I'm sorry, John, but the evidence doesn't lie. Until you decide to come clean, we're going to have to ground you." William stood frozen at the kitchen sink, paralyzed by indecision. His instinct was to run and tell his parents the truth, that he had seen someone else sneaking around in the middle of the night. But he had already lied and said he didn't do it. Would they believe him now? And even if they did, he would have to admit to being up in the middle of the night himself. He imagined his mother's face collapsing in disappointment, his father's stern looks. He didn't know if he could handle that. The sounds of the argument faded as John stormed off to his room and William's parents walked away, shaking their heads. Sam materialized next to William, grabbed an apple from the bowl on the counter, and bit into it casually. "Sucks for John. Guess he shouldn't have lied," he said with a shrug before wandering off. William clenched the edge of the sink, his knuckles turning white. What was he supposed to do now? Let John take the fall for something he didn't do? But if William told the truth, he risked getting in just as much trouble for sneaking around and lying to his mom. He spent the rest of the morning in a distracted fog, trying to focus on his book but reading the same sentences over and over. The guilt gnawed at him like a steady toothache. By lunchtime, he couldn't take it anymore. William marched himself into his father's office, where his parents were talking in low, serious tones. "Mom? Dad? I need to tell you something." They turned to look at him in surprise. "What is it, Will?" his dad asked. William took a deep breath, fighting the urge to stare at his feet. I lied before. I did see something last night, but it wasn't John in the hallway. It was someone else wearing my shoes." His mom's forehead creased. "What do you mean? What exactly did you see?" The story came tumbling out, waking up to a noise, peeking out to see the dark figure sneaking through the cement, watching him toss something out the window. His parents listened with increasing concern. "And I didn't know what to do, so I just went back to bed. But it wasn't a dream because the footprint was there in the morning. And then when you asked, I got scared I would get in trouble, so I said it wasn't me. But it's not fair for John to be grounded for something he didn't do. I'm really sorry I lied." William braced himself for his parents' reaction, blinking back the hot tears pricking at his eyes. His dad exchanged a grave look with his mom. "Son, I'm very glad you decided to come tell us the truth. That was a very brave thing to do. You're right, it's not okay that you lied to us initially, but you did the right thing now by being honest." His mom reached out and tilted his chin up gently so he would meet her eyes. "Will, I need you to know you can always come to us when something scary or confusing happens. No matter what, we need to know we can trust you to tell us the truth. I'm not angry with you, but I am disappointed that you felt like you couldn't talk to us. Okay?" William nodded, his throat tight. "I understand. I won't lie again, I promise." "Okay. I think your consequence will be to help your dad clean up and refinish the damaged section of the hallway. That cement will need to be redone. And I'd like you to apologize to John." "I will," William said quickly, relief flooding through him. That was a much better outcome than he had feared. His dad squeezed his shoulder. All right then. Your mom and I need to talk about how we're going to handle this new information. If what you saw is true, it means we had an intruder in our house, which is very concerning. We may need to call the police. I want you to know you're not in trouble, but we do need to get to the bottom of this. For now, go play, and we'll talk more later. William agreed and left his parents to their discussion, feeling like a weight had been lifted off him. He found John moping in the backyard and sheepishly told him the real story. To his surprise, John just rolled his eyes and said, "I knew you had to be the real culprit, Dorcas. No way I'd be caught dead doing something that stupid. But thanks for finally fessing up, I guess." From John, that was practically gushing gratitude. William grinned in relief when he went to find Sam and invite him to kick a soccer ball around. His brother gave him a strange, almost smile, half impressed and half something William couldn't decipher. "Heard you got pegged for that whole cement fiasco after all and had to tell Mom and Dad what really went down. Pretty sneaky move, little bro. Faking me out at breakfast. Didn't think you had it in you." William frowned. "It wasn't a move, you're just lucky the shoes fit, huh?" Sam cut him off with a wink before jogging off to retrieve the ball, leaving William mystified. A horrible suspicion began to dawn on William as he mechanically started dribbling the ball with his feet. His gaze strayed to the upstairs hallway window, remembering the figure tossing something out of it in the dark. Something like a towel you might wipe off a dirty shoe with. And who would have had access to William's shoes to wear during their nighttime escapades? William narrowed his eyes at his brother's back. He was starting to get the sinking feeling he had been expertly duped, implicated as the only possible culprit after being manipulated to cover for the real guilty party. Well, two could play at that game. William was already envisioning how he might set a trap to catch Sam red-handed next time. He smirked to himself, ideas churning. He might be the youngest brother, but he wasn't going to be outsmarted forever. His days as the family patsy were over. He booted the ball with a little extra force, bouncing it off the back of Sam's legs. "Oh, sorry," he called innocently when Sam whirled around. "Guess I don't know my own strength." Sam's eyes narrowed briefly before his usual easy grin slid into place.
"No worries, Woody."
"Wanna see me juggle?" William watched his brother begin effortlessly bouncing the ball from knee to knee, the picture of carefree unconcern, and bit back his own knowing smile. The game was on.